This week's species always puts on a show and at times can be very ferocious. These fish are certainly at the top of the food chain. Tonight, we're talking about sharks.
Welcome to the Chevy Florida Insider Fishing Report, presented by Yamaha.
Hey guys, we're all gathered here today for the sharkiest show of the Chevy Florida Insider Fishing Report season, and we're gonna take a bite out of every region in Florida. So, studio audience, Rick, are you ready to start this bloodbath?
Man, there's so many things in there.
I
It's
know.
hard for me to keep up with all that craziness.
Yeah,
you did.
You appreciate it,
weigh
though, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
every week.
Okay,
I
great.
just never know where we're going with all of it.
Well, I'm gonna tell you where we're going.
Where are we
First up is Captain Pat Deneen in the Panhandle region. What's chomping around up there, Pat?
Hey, Bree, I tell you, with all the restrictions and closures on the other Gulf species, shark fishing is getting a lot more attention from both the charter operators and private anglers. And you don't need a boat to get involved with shark fishing. Some huge sharks have been caught off the Panhandle beaches and piers, including massive mako sharks during the springtime and full-grown tigers and hammerhead sharks throughout the summer. But the smaller blacktip is probably one of the most targeted simply because they're common along all the beaches and in many of the bays. Anywhere you find schools of ladyfish or other bait concentrations coastally, you're going to find blacktips. And they run up to and over 50 pounds. They fight hard, often jump, and some people really enjoy eating them. But if you want to catch one of the bigger shark species, no problem. There's a bunch of charter operators throughout in all the ports in the Panhandle. That are targeting the sharks, primarily on daytime 4 to 6 hour trips. They anchor up in chum with bonita, also while soaking a bonita or a bonita fillet on a shark rig. And at the same time, they're shark fishing. They're free lining herrings and cigar minnows on spinning rods, catching bonitas for chum, but also catching kings and Spanish mackerels to take home. And on those trips, they're primarily catching bull sharks, duskies, spinners, and a few tigers and hammerheads. And the shark fishing has been very consistent throughout the last several years, actually. Staying offshore, late summer and fall, the white marlin fishing can be good, and quite a few are being caught lately. You want to find some blue water, and then currently the green to blue transition has been out in the vicinity of the double nipple with the line running east-northeast to west-southwest. Look for areas where there's a lot of current and the line is pushed up tight. You want to troll with naked and skirted ballyhoos or small 8 to 10 inch plugs. And then dredges, daisy chains, and spreader bars as teasers really help to get some fish up behind the boat. And while you're out there, you can expect bites from wahoos, dolphins, especially along those weed lines. But there's also been quite a few sailfish and blue marlin seen and caught this past week as well. The whites are running 35 to 60 pounds. And this summer's been a really good blue water fishing season, and we're heading out there this weekend, so hopefully the best for us.
Well, good luck with that, Pat. Hey, let's go inshore, bub.
Inshore, Rick, the redfish throughout the Panhandle, there's schools of slot and overslot redfish being found right up on the Gulf Shore beaches. In Panama City, exit the pass, go east towards Crooked Island and Cape San Blas. Out of Destin, look along the beaches just west of Destin, or go further west along the military property between Fort Walton Beach and Navarre. And then over in Pensacola, go east along the beaches of Fort Pickens or head west along Perdido Key. Basically, you want to find a quiet section of beach, and you're going to find these fish right up on the shoreline. You can catch them from the boat by drifting or using your trolling motor, cruise along that first sandbar. But you can also just walk the beach and sight cast to them from the shore. Live cigar minnows, small herrings, pilchards are all readily eaten by these redfish. But if you want to go artificial, use a pearl or a white bass assassin paddle tail or fluke on a light jig head. And then in the bay, there's been some singles big bull redfish. They're not in schools. They're just mostly cruising in singles, 3 to 6 feet of water on the flats. And there's a photo of a big red caught with Captain Troy Forbes of C-30 Guide Service using a live menhaden under a float near Sandestin. So
That's a great fish, Pat. What else you got for me inshore, bub?
finally, Rick, the bonitas are thick as fleas near shoreline of beaches. They're feeding heavily on half-inch long little fry minnows. And they're not, maybe this isn't inshore, but it's definitely near shore, within half a mile of the beach. And they're frothing the surface as they gorge on these minnows. It's great for fly fishing, cast gummy minnows, glass minnow flies, or small streamers on 6 to 8 weight outfits. But with conventional tackle, use 3,000 to 4,000 series spinning reels with 10 to 15 pound line and cast small diamond jigs, Castmaster spoons, or small jigs. And these bonitas are in the big schools are running 4 to 6 pounds, while the bigger fish running 6 to 10 pounds are found on the outskirts of those bonita blitzes where the surface is just solid white water. It's been pretty savage.
All right, thank you so much, Pat. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the blue water outrigger hotspots from the Panhandle region. Captain Pat says inshore mangrove snappers on the deep bay structures near the inlets using free-lined or lightly weighted live shrimp or pilchards. And then offshore, find the color change near the double nipple and troll for white marlin, blue marlin, and then other pelagics.
Rick,
Hey.
I have some baby sharks I found on the boat.
It's so cool. I love those hats.
Where did you guys get those hats? Daddy? Chevy Florida Insider Fishing Report got you those hats, didn't
That's
they?
right.
You guys look super cute. All right, now let's take a peek inside the jaws of the Startron Central West region with Captain Jeff Page, shall we?
You know, I got a quick shark story. One time I was up pre-fishing in Pat Deneen's region. I go out his inlet, and I hang a left right along the beach, like he said. I call him. I said, Pat, I found the cobias. I found the cobias. He goes, those are all black-tip sharks. And they do. They get thick up there along those beaches. Now, in our region, we don't have them as thick, but we do have a variety of ways of catching them, from offshore Gulf of Mexico to the nearshore Gulf. The key, Rick, is getting anchored up, starting a good chum slick, and put out, 2 or 3 bottom rigs with wire. Always you want to use wire. Mono's not going to cut it. And at least a 9 or a 10-0 circle hook. These are for your bigger sharks out in the Gulf, with a whole jack or a mullet attached to it, and it won't be long, especially in the summertime like it is right now, and at night, for your drag to start screaming. Our number one is black tip, which I heard Pat mention, bull sharks, and a lot of hammerheads around, especially during tarpon season. In the bay, you're going to want to use the same technique, except not as big a hook or gear necessary. And bridge and pier anglers do real well, especially at night, off the Venice Pier and as well as the big Skyway piers to the north. I've got a photo tonight of Captain Gary Huffman of Tuna Breath Charters with a medium-sized hammerhead that he caught in the bay, in South Tampa Bay, with one of his clients.
That's a cool picture. Thanks for sending that in there, Tuna. Hey,
All right.
what you got for me offshore, Paige?
Mangrove snapper. Mangs are holding on wrecks, ledges, and reefs in 65 to 95 feet of water off Anna Maria. The nighttime fishing, it's been really calm out there, Rick. The nighttime's been yielding the bigger fish, some up to 5 to 10 pounds, coming in from quite a few of the Marina Jack captains. Live or cut pilchards are working really good. The key's been light 20-pound fluorocarbon on a 2.0 light wire circle hook. Switching to inshore, my whole inshore report this week is going to be about the Sarasota Fishing Camp, which just wrapped up last week. And you guys, we want to thank the guys at Chevy Florida Insider Fishing Report for all the little goodies they gave our campers. They caught nice speckled trout up to 25 inches on live pilchards, as well as 4-inch saltwater assassin sea shad in the new Texas hippie pattern, rigged on a 1/4-ounce assassin silver or chartreuse jighead. Some of the best fish came from the flats off City Island, as well as the flats off the Middle Grounds, which is just east of New Pass, Emerson Point, and Rattlesnake Key. When we fished the pilchards, we had our power poles down. When we casted the assassins, we were drifting. Got a photo tonight of our camper Dean with a big speckled trout he got on the 3rd day.
Man, that's a nice fish, Paige.
Now species 2, it was my offshore and it's my inshore. Mangrove snapper inshore. No, they're not as big, but they're real easy to catch this year on the grass flats. They were a big hit with the campers. Neat thing, they were catching them off the same flats they were catching the trout on, usually on live or cut pilchards under a cork or free lines. I've got a photo tonight of camper Nick with a snapper that he caught. And all in all, the kids learned knots, they learned conservations, they learned rules and regulations. They went out on the sheriff's boat for a few hours, cast netting, and of course fishing. And myself and my partner, Captain Jeremy Lee, want to thank all you guys at Chevy Insider Fishing Report and all our other great sponsors. and we're looking forward to next summer. And I've got one last picture of all our campers with me and Captain Jeremy.
All right, great
Nice,
picture there,
Paige.
Paige. Good job. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the Central West hotspots that Captain Paige gives us each week. Captain Paige says inshore redfish, finally some decent groups of reds showing up on the bars just off Turtle and Bull Bay in Charlotte Harbor, and then offshore, red grouper, lots of nice reds holding over hard bottom in 85 to 105 feet of water off of Venice and Inglewood. Live pinfish or frozen sardines are gonna catch those groupers.
All right, stay hooked everyone, because in just a few minutes we're headed to the southeast region and then going to the CCA workbench for Hummingbirds off the deep end. We'll be right back.
The Chevy Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Chevrolet, find new roads. Yamaha, reliability starts here. Contender Boats, performance through innovation. Hummingbird, simply, clearly better. Decks and Docks Lumber Company, Florida's dock and seawall supplier. And King Sailfish Mounts, www.kingsailfish.com.
Today, we're talking about automotive awards. Which one of these awards appeals most to you?
Top safety pick, mid-size car and SUV.
Most dependable means a lot to me.
The green car, because I like fuel efficiency.
What if there was a car company that received all of these awards?
One company, one award in all these? Chevy.
Chevrolet is the most awarded car company of the last 2 years.
I love it. It's fierce.
How would you sum this car up in one word?
Incredible, amazing. I can't use one word.
When you're moving a big offshore boat, it's all about thrust and trust. For thrust, nothing compares to the Yamaha purpose-built 5.3-liter V8 Power Pioneer. And for trust, Yamaha's new F350C model becomes the only outboard in its horsepower class to feature a 5-year limited warranty. Never settle for less than complete confidence and control in the open water. That's Yamaha V8 Power. Get the best and forget the rest.
It's one of the most ancient forms of hide and seek known to man. And nobody knows how to play the fishing game better than the backcountry guides and offshore captains of the Florida Keys and Key West. Ready or not, here we come.
Now it's time for the FWC News and Notes. August 27th is the Flying Wild Workshop in Manatee County. Also on August 27th, there's a fishing clinic for the ladies in Fernandina Beach. And September 17th, there's a kids fishing clinic in Sarasota. For more information, visit myfwc.com. But now we're going off the deep end.
Well, one of the things that I really like doing over here at the Hummingbirds off the deep end
Yes.
CCA workbench is not telling Bree that she's doing off the deep end. So surprise! Hi, Bree.
Surprise! Thanks, Dave, wherever you are, for not showing up.
Dave's like MIA all the time. But Bree,
Yeah,
you know, we're
I'm
talking
here.
about
I'm
sharks,
here.
and you know, before we roll the video, I want to talk a little bit about, you've caught some really big sharks with me. You know, sometimes they were to eat a fish that you had on.
Yeah,
And so
always.
we immediately became undergun. We're permit fishing with a standard spinning rod, like so, this 7-foot Akuma,
Yep.
and you know, have a 65 series size reel, and immediately you go from a 20-pound permit to a 350-pound bull shark, and
Right.
it's like, now what do we do? Well, we
Good
basically
question.
wait until he eats our fish, and usually eats through the monofilament leader that we
Leader
have,
off,
and
right.
so
You
then
get a good
we're
workout, and then you're done.
so then we're yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You've experienced it plenty of times. All right, but the one thing that you and I have never done before, which is fly fish or throw lures to sharks and specifically go shark fishing. No. Now, Bree, I want to explain something to you. The one thing that I've learned over the 30 years of being on the water, I've tried white flies, I've tried white lures, I've tried black, I've tried all different colors. And I want to tell you, the shark's favorite color is exactly the same color as a U.S. Coast Guard certified life jacket. So that kind of tells you about what our government and Coast Guard thinks about when we go shipwreck, that we're going to put you in their favorite color of a shark so they don't have to worry about recovering anything.
I'm sure they knew about all that before they made these
I don't think they really know. All I know is the sharks over the years have eaten so many people with orange life jackets on that this is now their favorite color. They think that there's something to eat when they see this, and it's a perfect world. So
we can all tell that Rick does not ever get in the water.
No,
ever,
we don't. And the reason that this part of the doesn't get in the water is because I can take you when we go shark fishing. Let's roll this tape, and I want to show you what happens, Bree. We put a bait on the bottom, and guess what? There's all bets are off. And it doesn't matter whether it's a black tip shark or a lemon shark like this. All the fun starts happening. You see my big giant orange fly in that fish's face?
Yep.
Look, this is how we chum for the fish. We'll take a barracuda, we'll take a ladyfish, we take bonitas, whatever we can get our hands on. And what we typically do, Bree, is we fillet those baits down the side, leaving the meat attached to the actual carcass. Now, here's where people make a mistake when they're out shark fishing. Is a lot of times what we do is we stake out or we anchor in a place where the fish are, or where the tide and the wind are going the same way. So that seems to work out fairly well because it's taking your current and magnifying your smell. Remember, at the boat, right at that chum where it's laying in, the scent trail could maybe only be this far.
Right.
I mean, this wide. But as you get 100 feet out there, it could be 30 feet wide. And what we've learned is that a shark can detect 1 drop of blood in 1,000,000 parts of water.
Thank you,
so
Sharky.
that's what gets them excited. Now, to get them to where they're really crazy, which I can't wait to take you to do, where they'll eat artificials, or they'll eat flies like these Rapalas. For people that don't fly fish, we throw, and I'll tease that shark in to where if I don't pull that bait out of the water, he'll eat it off of the bow of the boat. So the key is that when you have the tide going in the opposite direction of the wind, this is a time when you actually want to drift. And the faster you drift, the more concentrated it makes that scent trail. So right there at the bait, but it's perceived by the shark because it's moving. He might pick it up a half a mile or a mile away. But as you see him coming in, and there's this zigzaggy type of pattern, because once he gets to the edge of the smell over on this side and it starts to be diluted, he turns around and comes right back into the smell again. And as long as he's got a lot of that smell, he's coming closer to us and closer to us. And the closer he gets to the boat, the faster he goes. That's what makes them go in a frenzy. When we caught the world record tiger shark on a fly, that shark, and a lot of people don't know this, that shark ate a fly, he ran off, we end up breaking him off. Fight him for 15 minutes, break him off, and I tell the guys, like, he's cussing and everything, I lost the world record tiger shark. Don't worry about a thing. I idle up to the fish, I drop the barracuda over, we started drifting away. I had enough time to tie on another fly. 10 minutes later, here comes the same tiger shark, comes running in, throw the fly to him, he eats it, and I gaff him in 7 minutes. World record right there, laying in the boat, pat for it.
Nice.
Bomb dog.
Well, of course, you're Rick Murphy. So
no, it has nothing to do with it. It has.
Oh, good.
It
I'm
has
so
to
glad
do
you
with
said that.
knowing. It has to do with knowing what they're going to do.
Right.
You did such a great job over here.
Thank you. I feel like we should rename it Hummingbird Story Time with Rick. How about that? You did great too,
Let's
Rick.
go to another region.
All right. Well, Captain Jimbo Thomas in the Costa region is never lacking any shark action, if that's what you're looking for. Right, Jimbo?
That's correct. You know, it seems like there's been a lot more sharks around than usual, especially bull sharks in the bays. There's been some big ones caught in the last few months in some of the marinas and canals in Biscayne Bay, and also around the fish cleaning tables where the carcasses are tossed in. But those are like pets. Those are trained sharks. They're too easy to catch. Now, if I was going to go do some inshore shark fishing,
I'd get anchored up along the edge of a channel and hang a bonita or barracuda slab off the back of the boat for chum, and then drift a slab of bait back in the current on a 20 to 30 pound outfit with a 4 to 5 foot piece of wire leader, and then I use a circle hook. Or you can keep a Rapala or a surface bait ready to cast, or even cast an international orange fly. See, I learned something there too. But a great place to do this is in the Finger Channel south of Biscayne Bay. And the nice thing about that is you can do it in just about any kind of weather because it's usually calm in those channels. The main sharks that you're going to see inshore are bulls, lemons, blacktips, and nurse shark. But it's not uncommon for a big hammerhead or even a tiger shark to come into that shallow water. Now, offshore, bonita and barracuda are also the bait of choice. And you want to fish anywhere from 100 feet on out to 400 feet or more and put a weighted bait down on or near the bottom and also drift baits on the surface. Or you can even put a slab of bait under the kite on 30 to 50 pound tackle. You want to use wire leader, of course, and a circle hook. And then there's also a group of guys that fish sharks off the beaches at night, and they paddle their baits out on surfboards, but I'm not that brave. I only swim in the daytime. Now, the most common offshore shark would be a hammerhead, bull sharks, and lemons, but you never know what's going to swim by. And I don't claim to be a shark fisherman by any means, but we've caught just about every kind of shark out there over the years, except for a great white, and I've never seen one either. But there are a few sightings of great whites every year. And nowadays, you can hardly keep any sharks. There's so many new rules and regulations. So we release them, which we always have either way. And I got a photo here. I did not take this photo, unfortunately, but this is what happens when a mako shark meets a sailfish.
Wow, Jimbo, that's a cool photo, man. Thank you for sharing that with us. Hey, let's stay inshore. What do you got going on in your southeast region?
The catch and release snook fishing in the inlets is still our best bet inshore. The snook are schooled up in all the inlets of the region and are being caught on live pilchards, herring, pinfish, croakers, and mullet, fished near the bottom on a Jupiter rig. Now, a lot of these fish have been in the 20-pound range, so you want to use at least 50-pound fluorocarbon leader and a 5.0 to 6.0 circle hook. Now, if there's no live bait available, you can try working flare hawk jigs or 4-inch DOA or Bass Assassin jerk baits along the bottom. And both the incoming and outgoing tides have been good early in the mornings or late in the afternoons into the evenings. Now, moving offshore, there's been more wahoos around than usual in the past week. Most of these wahoos have been caught on the troll using a wireline outfit or a number 3 planer with a feather and a bait or a 3.5 drone spoon. And that they got a drone spoon that's red now, and that seems to be what's been working best in the last few weeks. Now, the bites have been in blue water, anywhere from 120 to 500 feet of water, trolling at 6 to 10 knots. There's also been some wahoos caught on live blue runners, speedos, or goggle eyes fished under the kite or on the drift. Most of these wahoos have been in the 20 to 30 pound range. And then anything floating offshore has also been holding wahoo. You can try dropping a live bait under the floater or troll a deep dive and Rapala Magnum around the floater. But most of these wahoos caught under the floaters are a little bit on the smaller side, say in the 5 to 12 pound range. And I got a photo here of a lit up wahoo that we caught on the planer a couple weeks ago.
That is a lit up fish, Jimbo.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, and then we still got offshore here, way offshore. The daytime and nighttime swordfish bite has been decent in 1,800 to 2,000 feet of water from Government Cut north to Lake Worth Inlet, and that's when the weather permits. If it's rough, nobody's getting out there sword fishing. But in the daytime, the swords have been biting squid, bonita strips, and dolphin bellies fished close to the bottom on 10.0 to 12.0 hooks. And at night, when those swords come closer to the surface, best baits have been rick squid, live blue runners, and speedos, fished at various depths from 50 to 500 feet. You just want to stagger a spread of baits from those depths. In the day and the nighttime, use 300-pound monofilament leaders with lights attached above the baits. And I've heard of swords up to 300 pounds caught in the last couple of weeks. And if you're heading out there, keep an eye out for any mahi activity on the way to and from those swordfish grounds.
All right, thank you so much, Jimbo. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the hot spots from the southeast region, brought to you by Center State Bank. Inshore, drift live baits through your local inlet for nighttime snook. And then offshore, look for those wahoos, fast troll drone spoons and feathers and baits on wire lines or planers in 150 to 300 feet of water, Bree.
Well, Rick, it's time for Ask You a Question. And tonight we have a few questions from our live studio audience members. Will you please state your name, where you're from, and then your question to Rick?
My name is Willie, and I'm from Palm Bay. And my question is, Captain Rick, I live near some freshwater canals in my area, and I've been seeing some very small tarpon, maybe 10 to 15, 20 pounds. And I've been trying to catch them, but I'm just not having any luck. I was wondering if you had any tips or tricks that might help me out.
Certainly, Willie. You know, the thing that I'm going to tell you is that those canal tarpon sometimes can be a little bit difficult. What seems to usually work is if you'll take some dead bait. You can go to your local bait and tackle store and buy a fresh mullet. Don't buy anything frozen. Buy a fresh mullet, and then take that mullet and stake him out. Then throw that chunk of bait, but here's the most important thing. Throw it out in the middle of the canal and let it sink. Give it enough line so that the line itself sinks and lays down on the bottom. That way the fish don't see the line. Use a circle hook. When you get the bite, just reel until it comes tight. Don't forget to bow to him when he comes up jumping. You'll catch him that way.
You always need to bow to the tarpon. Always.
That's it.
And what is your name, where are you from, and what is your question for Rick?
Hi, I'm Bill from Old Town. My question for Rick is, when fishing for shark, is it best to use braid, mono, or a combination of both lines when
fishing for
sharks?
Yeah,
Yep.
Good question.
Listen, the key to any time that you can use braid, it's going to be a lot better for you. The one thing that I will say is that you're going to want to have a long piece of leader so that you can grab that leader and let that leader go to bring the fish boat side. If the fish takes off as you go to pull him into the boat or pull him boat side, you're going to want to be able to let that leader go. You don't want to be grabbing braid, even with gloves on. So I'd suggest you put a piece of monofilament before you actually put your wire so that it's a buffer, something that's going to be a lot more friendly to you. You can use 60-pound, 100-pound, whatever it may be. Then tie your swivel and your wire on. Thank you guys so much for the questions.
Wow, Rick, you're such a know-it-all. All right, if you have a question for Captain Rick, send in a good quality horizontal video to our website, ChevyFloridaInsiderFishingReport.com. And remember, the question should be 30 seconds or less. All right, guys, don't swim off just yet. Coming up, we're biting a piece off the Southwest and Northeast regions only on the Chevy Florida Insider Fishing Report. Shark Week.
The Chevy Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Bass Assassin and Saltwater Assassin, the best lures, period. Blue Water Outriggers, everything for your outdoor adventures. The American Fishing Tackle Company, precision tackle and performance clothing since 1958. Costa Sunglasses, see what's out there. And Casa Vieja Lodge, 5-star angling in beautiful Guatemala.
I think it's time to change my battery. Now you do it.
Get AC Delco batteries at Bennett Auto Supply. Plus, get $10 off your first online purchase when you register at BennettAuto.com.
Bennett Auto Supply. Do it yourself, but not alone.
How can you turn a redfish into a new truck or boat? Catch a CCA Florida Star tagged redfish. Prizes from Conley Buick GMC, Contender, Pathfinder, Hells Bay Boatworks, and Sea Hunt boats. Complete with Yamaha motor and trailer. Win your share of $500,000 in prizes and college scholarships during the summer long tournament. Other great prizes from Academy Sports and Outdoors, Bad Boy Buggies, Power Pole, Costa Sunglasses, and more. Register now at ccaflstar.com.
As close as you're gonna get to a sure thing for catching billfish is Casa Vieja Lodge.
They're here, man. This has been a 20-year run, buddy. These things haven't left, this whole cycle.
When it comes to sail fishing, this is the real deal.
The amount of sailfish here is ridiculous.
Welcome. Hi. Today we're going to be comparing the roll-formed high-strength steel bed of the Chevy Silverado to the aluminum bed of this competitor's truck. We're going to grab that empty toolbox for me. Let's start here with the aluminum bed.
That's a big hole. Huge. We got Swiss cheese for a truck here. I'm curious to see if that will do the same thing with the Chevy.
Well, let's find out. Same spot, same angle, same empty toolbox.
Took it way better.
The steel held up.
Silverado proved it is the toughest truck here.
You know, Bree, my good friend, Dr. Guy Harvey, certainly knows a lot about shark fishing, loves the research. I think he loves the shark just as much as the blue marlin and all the billfish. So guess what? He did a little special package for us on sharks. Let's take a look and see what Captain or Doctor has to say.
Okay.
Hey, Rick and Bree. I'm really sorry I couldn't be on your show today. I'm right here in St. Pete Beach, which is a great place to fish, as you know. But this show is all about sharks. We start with tiger sharks, the subject of many of our expeditions. I mean, just look at this creature, the dark stripes, the impressive blunt face, and the eyes. Those eyes are always observant. The tiger shark is, without question, one of my favorite sharks to paint. They are captivating animals to dive with as well, but watch out for your cameras. We track tigers with what's called a spot tag. Here, we're applying one to the dorsal fin of a tiger shark. It really causes no discomfort to the animal. In fact, it's about the same as getting your ear pierced. But this work can be really difficult. The reward is in the tracking. Tiger sharks are highly migratory, traveling thousands and thousands of miles. All the tracking data help to convince the Bahamian government to establish a shark sanctuary. This rewarding research takes us beyond the tiger shark to this shark, the oceanic white-tip shark. It's another critical part of our studies because the oceanic used to be the most prolific animal on the planet, over 100 pounds. The population has been almost wiped out because of overfishing and bycatch. We've tagged oceanics in both the Bahamas and off the coast of where I live in Grand Cayman. Oceanics are highly migratory as well, and every day we learn something new from the research. It just shows you how much there is to learn about the migratory patterns of many species. It also shows that it will take international cooperation to protect these animals. Which brings up another shark. Boom! The short-fin mako. Our unprecedented research with this open ocean or pelagic animal is now in its 6th year. During that time, we've worked with short-fin mako sharks in Mexico, off the coast of the Yucatan, and off the coast of Ocean City, Maryland. One shark named Tough Guy traveled all the way from Mexico to Nova Scotia. Even with the success of the mako sharks we've tagged, an alarming percentage of our makos have been caught and killed by fishermen. Now, makos are good to eat, but what about their overall status? That's what we need to find out to make sure their numbers stay healthy. The amazing thing about all of this research, you can take part in it right now by going to ghritracking.org. Hey, Rick and Bree, thank you so much for your continued support, and of course, for the support of all your viewers and fans who make our work possible. See you all soon on the water.
That was just great. I love Guy.
He's the best.
So awesome. What a great package that was.
It was.
Learned a lot too.
Me too.
Okay, whether you like to fish for sharks or you're constantly getting sharked, Captain Ronnie Houston, the Pillsbury Legend Southwest region's got him, right, Ronnie?
Well, you know what? Sharks in the Southwest region are very popular and, believe it or not, very plentiful, like I said, all throughout the region. On the offshore side, typically structure, wrecks and reefs, also following migrating schools of fish, for example, Spanish mackerel, jacks, ladyfish, tarpon, or large bait pods. Now, on the inshore side, the flats, the passes, the bridge spans, but something that's become very popular, especially for the non-boater, is the beaches. All through the region, just about anywhere. And it's simple as guys using heavy tackle will walk a large live or cut bait out of ways into the surf, leave it out there floating on a balloon or simply sitting on the bottom and wait for a shark to pick it up. It's been such a craze that they have special-made rods and reels, custom built, and even harnesses they put on for support to make it easier for them to reel in the fish. Large live baits or even butterfly baits for scent and even chumming to attract them just about any way. Most common are the bulls and the black tips, nurses, and on occasion we get the whites and the tigers, but all through the region, whether it's offshore, inshore, or off the beaches, plenty of opportunity to catch a shark in the region. Now,
On the inshore side, you want to concentrate on the redfish. Late afternoon incoming from Pavilion Key to Coon Key, fishing outer Gulf points, looking for black bottom, hard bottom, and oyster bar shorelines and points, especially where there's an abundance of what's going on right now with small pilchards or schools of finger mullet. The fish, believe me, are moving with them. Also, as the tide gets high and the bigger mullet get near the shoreline, fish are going to be traveling with them too. Live finger mullet, pilchards, cut ladyfish, and mullet. I strongly recommend a knocker rig to keep the bait in place, as the redfish are generally feeding off the bottom. Also, smoke-colored golden brim or root beer bass assassin sea shads on a quarter-ounce jig head or quarter-ounce golden silver spoons. I've got a picture of some fish that were just caught. Danny Shelton and Dave Roden from the East Coast overfishing on this side with some nice redfish and trout. Now, I got an announcement before I go into the offshore side. CCA NFWC on August 10th will be holding a workshop on a proposed critical wildlife area for Estero Bay. This is to include and possibly to close down some productive waters for fishing, also possibly implement some buffer zones around the islands. CCA suggests you attend. Look on their website for the information, and believe me, I strongly recommend being there. This should have been done a long time ago. Estero Bay isn't the way it used to be. Now, on the offshore side, the red groupers. Wiggins Pass to Redfish Pass, concentrating depths of 75 to 95 feet of water. Now, you might want to start in 75 feet working hard bottom. It's possible you might start catching some keeper fish, but have patience. If a piece is not working, you want to start venturing around, working your way towards 95 feet. Even if you've never caught a fish in those areas, you just might learn something new. Cut bait, herring, squid, sardines. Right now, patience is the key. You get bit in those depths right now, you're going to be catching some quality fish. So move around between 75 and 95. Also on the offshore side, the permits. Gordon's Pass to Sanibel, fishing most noted structure as close as 7 miles and out to 25 miles. Here again, patience is important. You might have to bounce around. It's not always a guarantee. Drifting live crabs or anchoring up to try to see where most baits are flowing as you're anchored up in those areas, or bunched up on the structure. Also, you might have to use a little weight or slowly descend your baits down. Some areas right now are holding big schools, and others are with some scattered fish. So right now, sometimes patience is the key. Work hard, you'll be well rewarded.
All right, Ronnie, thank you so much. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the hotspots from the southwest region. Inshore, snook, late night incoming until dawn, intercoastal docks and seawalls of Estero Bay to Cape Coral. The bite's going to be better if you got swift current. And then offshore, king mackerels, Fort Myers Beach to Stump Pass, fishing noted structure in 40 to 60 feet of water. Large lip plugs, spoons, live herring, and blue runners are going to work for those kingfish.
You know I'm dancing?
You are?
Yeah, I'm really excited.
Why?
Because we've been telling you guys about the Bell's Florida Fishing Contest for, about a couple weeks now. And we finally have a winner.
We do?
Yeah. Drum roll, please. All right. I hope you're watching. Dennis Ladd from Jensen, Florida Beach. Jensen Beach, Florida. Or Florida Beach, whatever. You just won a 2-night stay at the Guy Harvey Outpost in Isla Mirada and a day of fishing with Rick and I.
That means you get to throw the cast net again.
Yes, I can't wait. What a weekend getaway, right?
Congratulations, Dennis.
Congratulations. We'll see you soon.
I'll be calling you in a little bit.
Sounds good. All right, let's check in with our resident FaceTimer, Captain Tommy Derringer in the Strike Zone Northeast region. Hey, Tommy.
Hey, Tommy, what's going on? I had to grab it. I got so wrapped up in the Bell's deal that I almost forgot about your deal.
He was so excited.
Hey, man, you can't forget about me down there. I know I was looking out, I couldn't see where I was looking there for a second. Hey, you know what, guys? Hey, Rick, is it gonna, all this talk about sharks is gonna make you get more into diving now, you think?
Oh, yeah.
No,
yeah, well,
no.
yes.
No.
We're going scalloping next week. He's gonna be in the water. It's gonna be great.
I want to know, I think I might be just too old to change.
No, we'll put him in that bright orange life
I'm going to play that card.
There you go.
So tell me,
all right,
what's
guys,
going on?
Well, you know, we couldn't have picked a better time to talk about shark fishing here in the Strike Zone Northeast region. You know, with all the bait around, the sharks are wide open right now. Now, there's a lot of different ways you can target them here in the region, and right now they're just about everywhere. Now, one of the more popular ways to catch a shark, and big ones at that, is going to be to get behind one of the many shrimp boats we have working right along the coastline. Now, when those shrimpers toss their bycatch overboard, it's going to be an all-out feeding frenzy, and you can sight fish the shark you want to catch, and you can find all kinds of different species of sharks behind those shrimp boats. Now, some of my favorites, or one of my favorites, is going to be the spinner shark. They put on a crazy spinning aerial display as soon as you hook up. Now, you don't have to wait until the shrimpers toss their bycatch either. You can bring some live or dead bait with you and just drift it back behind the shrimp boats, and you're probably going to hook up. Now, you can also target some big sharks in the pogie pods right along the beach this time of year. Simply just net some of those pogies and either use them alive right around the bait pods, or you can even create your own chum slick by cutting them up. Now, we also have some really big bonnethead sharks inshore right now, and they're a lot of fun on light tackle. Now, those bonnethead sharks are primarily crustacean eaters, so a halved blue crab is going to work really good for those guys. Now, no matter what type of shark you're targeting, obviously you're going to want to beef up your leader a bit, and in some cases probably go to a wire, although we do land quite a few of them on some heavy mono and circle hooks. Now, I got a picture here. This is Drew Wheeler giving a big love hug to a black-tip shark he caught right off of Jack's Beach.
Oh boy, that's how you get a pierced nipple. I just want to say that. All right, what else you got for us offshore, Tommy?
All right, I talked about the mangoes last week, and they're still really chewing this week on the new moon. I spoke with Captain Billy Hunsicker from EndlessSummerCharters.com, and he tells me he's been catching some really nice ones this week. Captain Billy says that the thermocline in some areas out deep has those some really nice snapper pushed in a little closer in about 100 feet of water. He says they've been catching some fish over 10 pounds, but most of them are a little smaller in the 2 to 6 pound class. Now, he's chumming them to the top with chunk sardines, but he's also been catching quite a few on the bottom, again using those sardines for bait. Now, I also spoke to Captain Jason Hadges from jhookfishingcharters.com, and he's been catching some really big mangoes as well in the 23 fathom depths when that thermocline isn't around. Now, when they chum those fish to the top, they're going to use some lighter tackle, probably a 20-pound fluorocarbon leader and a 2 to 3/0 VMC circle hook. And it's very much like yellowtailing down there in the Keys, where you want your bait to basically drift back as natural as possible. I got a picture here. This is Caleb and Austin with a couple of massive mangoes they caught aboard the J-Hook right out of the Conch House Marina.
All right, Tommy, before we go further, we are going to talk about the navionics from your region. Now, certainly, guys, we're talking about offshore. This is the 9A Mile Reef, as well as the North Reef and the South Reef, and this is the general navionics map. But if we turn around and we take and put the fishing maps or the sonar charts in, look at the difference. Now, Tommy tells me, guys, that right now there's lots of kingfish on all these different structures and all these little drop-off and breaks. So make sure that you keep that in mind, and you control between the South Reef and the North Reef, and you'll find those kingfish. Right now, the kingfish are a little bit on the small side, but there's certainly plenty of them to get. All right, Tommy, let's go inshore.
All right, we're in the heart of our tarpon season here in the Strike Zone Northeast region, and the tarpon are thick right now along the beaches in those pogie pods and glass minnow pods, as well as behind those shrimp boats that I was talking about earlier. Now, on some days, we've only been finding the glass and the blood minnows out there, so it's a good idea to grab some live mullet inshore before you head out on the beach. Now, I like to either float or freeline a large mullet or pogie using 60 to 80 pound fluorocarbon leader and a 7 to 10/0 VMC circle hook. Look for those tarpon to be feeding really early in the morning and then again at dusk. And they're running anywhere from about 50 to 100, 150 plus pounds. And I got a picture here. Captain J Plastic took this picture of Scott Coons with a nice tarpon they caught right off of St. Augustine Beach.
Those are great pictures. I think the Northeast region, day in and day out, have the best pictures all the time. All right, tell me about the flounder fishing.
All right, thanks, guys. What a run of flounder we've had this summer. The flounder bite has been great again this week. If you get out early enough this weekend, you can catch the last of the outgoing tide in the areas where that tide is a little later, like Palm Valley or Palm Coast. The flounder have been stacking up in both the creek holes and along those really small runouts right along the ICW. Mud minnow or mullet on a jig head, drug real slow on the bottom is always the way to go for those guys. And those flounder have been averaging about 2 to 5 pounds with some bigger fish coming from the inlets and some of the real nearshore wrecks.
All right, thank you so much, Tommy. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the Strike Zone hotspots from the Northeast region. We'll say goodbye. See you, Tommy.
Oh, bye, Tommy.
Inshore tarpon along the beaches in and around all the area inlets. Get out early or at dusk is for the best bite. And then offshore, mangrove snappers out of St. Augustine on the reefs and wrecks in 80 to 120 foot depths. Chum to the top so that the fish will come up from the bottom. Imagine how that works with sardines, of course.
Of course. All right, guys, if you love new products and live in Florida's East region, it's a perfect time to stay right where you are because that's where we're casting to next. You won't want to miss it.
The Chevy Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by the Florida Keys and Key West. Come as you are. FWC, the Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission. Navionics, we start where the road ends. Soft Science, supreme comfort footwear. Center State Bank, we believe in community. Real legends, exclusively at Bell's. And Maverick Boat Group, makers of premium boat brands Maverick, Hughes, and Pathfinder.
At Yamaha, reliability is a family tradition. Meet the next generation. 4 new advanced technology-inspired inline 4-cylinder performers. Bred from the reliability and boater satisfaction that is part of Yamaha's DNA. They prove that when power gets lighter, faster, stronger, and smarter, boating gets even better. And more satisfying for boaters like you.
You know there's more to it than luck. There's fishing the right bait, the water temperature, the wind, the season, and then there's the boat. We'll put it simply, the boat matters. To own a Contender is to own the best sport fishing boat on the market, period. Contender offers the most comprehensive model range with bigger, faster, and more fuel-efficient boats than the competition. There's only one choice for serious anglers. Contender Boats. Performance through innovation.
Shallow Wrap Shad's a jerkbait with a secret move. When you pause, the lure slowly rises. I tell you, man, it makes fish come unglued.
Well, welcome back to the Chevy Florida Insider Fishing Report, the CCA workbench, the lovely Bree Gabrielle.
Thanks.
And Bree?
Also lovely Rick Murphy.
Oh boy, I pay you a lot of money to say that. Okay, so Bree, we're gonna start off with the Trendsetter jigs.
Yes.
And you know, the cool part about this jig, as a fisherman, there's lots of things that I see here.
Yeah.
One, really important, have a big ring at the top so you get the maximum action out of it when you're dropping a jig down. More importantly, when you have that, you're going to want to tie this on with a loop to give you even additional action. The thing I also notice about these Trendsetters is they have a curve, which is going to give you a different action than the straight metal jigs that we typically have. And it looks like that these guys certainly have a quadruple strength reinforced VMC red hook, you know. Yeah. It's definitely going to hook the fish. They come in a variety of different colors and different sizes. I like this one too because this one, as you can tell, has a different type of paint pattern. It actually has
Checkered
a
almost.
Scale pattern,
Yeah.
big red eye, same type of curve, which is going to give you additional, you know, more action or a different
wiggle.
type of action. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Different
like
wiggle.
Watching a, you know,
What?
never mind.
What? Like watching a what?
We'll talk about that in
going with that?
commercial. So go ahead, tell me
Okay,
what you
so
got.
we have here some new Guy Harvey Marlinier 4-way stretch board shorts.
Yeah, man.
Which are pretty good looking, I'd say.
Yeah.
You know, they got a 4-way stretch and a drawstring you can obviously tighten. I think they're pretty cool. They've got the marlin on the side here. We know Guy Harvey's famous for those marlin.
Absolutely.
Right?
But the one thing that comes to mind when I think about shorts, it's just like belts, it's just like shirts, Bree. It's kind of like, this is where, like Austin Powers, this is where you get your mojo. So if you're wearing dolphin shorts, you're gonna catch more dolphin. If you're wearing a redfish shirt, you're gonna catch more redfish.
Is that how it works?
That's how it works. I'm telling you. I'm wearing a shark shirt right now.
Me too.
I'm gonna go in the water this
Guy Harvey.
weekend, I'll probably get eaten.
Well,
You know what I'm saying?
Probably.
So you won't be seeing me chumming myself here.
thank the Lord. I'm just kidding. Sayonara, Rick. Okay, this one is their performance shirts are really on.
I love them.
They're amazing. It's the Patriot LS Pro UVX performance shirt, and it's got UPF 30, quick dry with antimicrobial moisture wicking material.
Right.
And it's super soft too.
All right, so you gotta tell me
Oh my gosh, I'm really excited about
the
this.
redfish
The redfish hooded
hooded.
long sleeve shirt. And I've noticed that his paintings have gotten more, on the back, they've gotten more colorful.
Right.
So they've redone a bunch of it. But what I really like, especially for the ladies, is this hood. Because you can put it up, you can put a hat over it. I mean, this is a men's shirt, but for the ladies, you can wear it and you can put a hat over it. Your hair won't get all tangled up in the wind when you're running really fast.
Scale pattern, I love it. Got
yeah,
the dot.
I have this exact shirt, but I wish I had it.
I'm telling you, the redfish won't see you coming.
They won't.
They're just gonna think it's
gonna
Big
be my
Daddy coming
redfish
home.
mojo shirt.
All right, so we
What do you
got
got here?
about a minute left. So we got the chum sink. Now what this is, Bree, is this is a way to now anchor your chum bag. So this attaches, you put your anchor rope through here.
Right.
You can attach this this clip to your anchor rope. You can actually now position your chum block is going to be attached to here, your chum bag. You can drop this down your anchor rope. So the premise of this, or the way this potentially works, is that you can have your chum out front of the boat and the current is taking it underneath the boat so that you don't have to fish way back behind the boat. The key to this, the only one question I have, and I can't wait to talk to the guys that developed this,
We're on
is
Shark Tank today.
how many of our Sharky friends are
Yes.
going to eat your chum bag because it's downstairs? So that's going to be my question of the week to my boys over here. I love the fact that it's really nice and heavy,
It's very
and that
heavy.
you can manipulate the depth of your chum. Great idea. Good job, guys.
You guys just got approved on Shark Tank. There
That's
you
right.
go. All right, there's no lack of shark activity in the Decks and Docks East region, especially in the Palm Beach County area where they're pretty much eating anything you're hooking up to these days, right, Captain Mike?
That's true, and that chum bag wouldn't last 10 minutes in my region right now. We haven't seen the number of bull sharks this summer that we have in years past, but that's been replaced by everything from blacktip sharks to hammerheads, a lot of lemon sharks on the beaches, reef sharks offshore. If you're specifically targeting sharks, just run out to about 120 feet of water between the Lake Worth and Juneau piers, catch a bonito, and if you can get it in, put a hook in it, drop it back down. It'll take about 30 seconds for you to question whether that was a good idea. If you're land-based, pick a beach in Martin or St. Lucie counties, gear up with a rod and reel with enough line, and backbone to fight anything from, 100 pounds to 1,000 pounds. Get a chunk of bonita, jack crevalle, stingray, any of those will get the bite. The best action is going to be after dark. You can also do well fishing around the bait schools near shore. If you're out of a boat, there's a lot of 30 to 80 pound blacktip sharks in around the thread fins and sardine schools right now. You can sight cast them, just pick a bait, sardine will work, a blue runner will work. You want it kind of lethargic so the fish can catch it easily, and just sight cast those sharks that are cruising on the surface. The average shark in my region is going to be anywhere from 60 to 300 pounds, depending on the species. The other bite that we got going on offshore, the summer sailfish bite just will not quit, even with cold water pushing into St. Lucie and Martin counties. Off Palm Beach County, it's game on as well. I was talking to Captain Butch Constable. He had a double on Sunday in 130 feet of water off Jupiter, and one of those fish was eaten by sharks before they could get it in. So, just to give you an idea how bad that shark problem is there. In Martin and St. Lucie counties, the sailfish bites in anywhere from 50 to 280 feet of water. There's free jumpers all over the place. Really no pattern to the fish's movements. You can run to 200 feet and find blue water and fish them, but there's also plenty of fish in that nasty, cold, green water stuff that's just a couple of miles offshore, and the sand piles had a lot of fish on it as well. Unlike the past few weeks, the sails are broken up a bit, and they're not traveling as much in those small pods, so you're more likely to encounter a single. But, it's probably still a good idea to keep a bait in the water at all times, just in case there's a hitchhiker along with that fish. Average sailfish, 30 to 60 pounds. I got a photo. Brian Scott He caught that sailfish out of a skiff. He was live baiting in 90 feet of water off Hope Sound, and that fish ate a live pilchard. So no rhyme or reason to the sailfish bite, but it's game on, guys.
All right, let's go inshore, Hollywood.
Well, the tides have really been ripping this week, and that's pulling everything from shrimp and crabs to all the bait fish species out of the inlets, and that's got the tarpon bite going on in all the inlets in my region, especially after dark when there's not as much boat traffic. The fish range in size from 20 to 100 pounds or more, so, you know, it's kind of tough to figure out what tackle to use, but the best thing to do is just use 30-pound gear so you don't overtire the fish or yourself if you get a big one. We've got outgoing tides all week. Some of the mullet on the beaches in St. Lucie County, so you can run out and grab some baits before dark, then float them out the inlet with the tide, put them on a 7.0 VMC tournament circle hook, 60-pound fluorocarbon leader, and wait for the earth-shattering kaboom. Then try to retain possession of your rod as that fish leaves town. Live crabs, pilchards, and sardines and threadfins are also going to be good baits. The other bite, we'll see the biggest concentration of snook all year in our inlets this week with the new moon. So, you know, it's a good time for catch and release snook fishing. Pick an inlet, doesn't really matter. There's snook in all their normal holes as well as along the shorelines and just outside the inlets on the beach. Be there early if you want to throw lures. You know, you can throw like a 4-inch saltwater assassin in copper juice, Mississippi hippie, Houdini, Panhandle moon, or you can throw a lipless crankbait. Just step in, cast parallel to shore. If you like to throw flies, there's a good concentration of small bait on the shore at Hope Sound Wildlife Refuge and also off the Buttonwood Condo, Martin County. So you can throw flies at them. In the inlets, live bait's going to be king. Croakers, sandperch, pinfish, pigfish, pilchards, redfins. Those will all work. You can free line them in the shallow areas, put them on a Palm Beach sinker rig, and drop them down to the schools of snook in the deeper areas and just hang on. One thing to remember, the season's closed to harvest, so you want to handle the fish with care. And, you know, don't even take them out of the water if you're not going to take a photo. Just unhook them while they're still in the water and let them go. Average snook in my region is going to be 8 to 12 pounds. Fish to 30 pounds in the mix. I got a photo as well. That's Sabrina Sparks. She wrestled that big, dark back snook to the boat, fishing the outgoing tide at the St. Lucie Inlet, and that fish ate a copper juice-colored Bass Assassin 4-inch shad.
All right, Mike, we always talk about bass fishing, so why don't you tell me what's happening?
Well, you know, if there's one freshwater fish that likes the heat, it's the peacock bass. And this is the time of year to catch some of the biggest peacocks in the South Florida lakes and canals. I was talking to Captain Alan Zaramba. He said the C100, the E4, the C8 canals, they've all been on fire. The C100 is producing a lot of school fish early, you know, in the day, as well as some really big fish right now. Start your morning working the school fish along the shorelines with a topwater plug like a storm chug bug, or you can swim a Bass Assassin, Elite Shiner, rig it weedless, and just cruise it along the surface, and you'll get those explosive schoolie bites. And then from there, go to lipless crankbaits, AZ jungle jigs, or Clouser minnow flies, or, you know, the old standby live shiners, and just sight cast the fish around the structures and around the moving water. Look for the larger fish to be in singles and pairs with fish to 8 pounds this week. Get an early start, be off the water before the storms come through. You know, you'll have like 8 to 20 fish as an average, and the bite is just pretty as a peacock in those South Florida urban canals right now.
Wow, our Decks and Docks region captain is really animated this evening.
He is.
We're going to go ahead and take a
Choice
look
of
at the
words.
hot spots from the Decks and Docks region. Captain Mike says inshore, catch and release snook at the Juneau Pier, live sardines or pilchards on 30-pound tackle with a 5.0 circle hook. And then offshore, sailfish and blackfin tunas in 130 feet of water off of Jupiter. Guess what? Wahoo's out deeper, live sardines and pilchards are going to work for those guys.
Pretty as a peacock. All right, after a quick break, we're going to do some chumming around in the Keys and Northwest region, so don't move a muscle. We'll see you in just a sec.
Look at my man driving the boat.
Oh,
He's
shoot.
driving the boat.
The Chevy Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Rapala. Catch the latest at Rapala.com. StarTron cures and prevents ethanol fuel problems. Yeti, built for the wild. CCA Florida, the voice of recreational anglers for over 30 years. Strike Zone Fishing, your fish hunt paddle store. And Guy Harvey, marine wildlife artist and conservationist.
No matter where you are in Florida, Decks and Docks Lumber Company has got you covered for decking, seawall, and dock piling. From the Keys to the Panhandle and the Nature Coast to the Space Coast, we deliver the strongest products by the hardest working folks in the business. Whether you're fixing a dock or building a marina, go with the leader. Go with Decks and Docks. Supplying Florida's boaters, homeowners, and dock builders for over 20 years.
How's it going? Hi. Today we're going to be comparing the roll-formed high-strength steel bed of the Chevy Silverado to the aluminum bed of this competitor's truck.
Awesome.
All right, let him drop. Let's see how the aluminum bed of this truck held up.
Wow. That's a good-sized puncture. That's all the way through, for sure. Full-on crack here.
If you're aluminum now, you're gonna go, ooh.
Let's check out the Silverado's steel bed.
Wow.
Yeah, a couple dents.
I'd expect more dents.
Chevy clearly held up better than the Ford.
With your Power Pole tip of the week. Last week we talked about how the advanced features of our Sea Monster system allows you to better control drift paddles in deep water. But a lot of people wonder, what is the Sea Monster control system? Well, basically it's the smarts in our parts. It gives you all of the additional features like bottom sensing, auto up and down, speed control, or independent control of multiple anchors when you're using duals. It's also an all-wireless system, so it makes installation very quick and easy. When you're programming the controllers, it's much quicker with the Sea Monster control system. In fact, it's so smart, it even comes with its own app, packed with all kinds of additional features that we're going to talk about in next week's show. And that's your Power Pole tip of the week. Smarts in your parts. What do you think about that?
Sea Monster, smarts in your parts. All right. Filling in for Randy Tao on the keys today is Captain Mark Johnson. Mark the Shark, what's going on down there?
Hey, hello everybody. How we doing? Yes, sharks are one of my favorite things.
I knew it. Go ahead, start us off.
All right, so we're inshore this week. We're going to talk about the sharks. So a couple different ways you can catch them on the inshore, though. You like to anchor in that 4 to 6 feet of water, and mostly on the base side. You want to look for that good current. And you want to chum with a whole or a half fish, and you can either hang it from a boat or just put them on the bottom.
Hey, Mark, there, the audio there's a little muffled. I don't know. Hold that if you can.
Okay, here we go. With the sharks on the end, they can be found on both the Atlantic and the bay side. And depending on how you're trying to catch one will obviously determine on where you want to go. The offshore humps off of Islamorada and Marathon are always a good home for the very big sharks. You're going to be in the deep water, so you're going to need the heavy tackle, and that's just the start to catch one of these monsters of the deep. In the offshore world, you'll need to catch a bait like a bonita or a barracuda to get these fish to bite. And sometimes while you're catching the amberjack, they will eat your amberjack while you're winding it in. So you always want to be ready with a pitch bait, so when your shark follows up to half your amberjack to the boat, you can toss one to him and catch him right behind the boat. Another way to shark fishing is in the backcountry, in the shallow water where we like to try to sight fish them, and we can chum them, bringing them right to us. Most of the guys, we anchor down in that 4 to 6 feet of water and use a whole fish on a rope or a stringer and hang it off the front of the boat. And what this will do is the sharks will smell that scent of that fish on the rope, and they will swim right up to the boat, which makes it great fun for sight fishing sharks up to 200 to 300 pounds. And if you're a fly fisherman and you want to catch something big on a fly rod, there's nothing more exciting than casting a big shark in the shallow water.
All right, tell me about the triple tails, bub.
You know, triple tails is another fantastic fish in the inshore world. And this time of year, especially on the flat calm days, you can find the triple tails very consistently along the Everglades National Park boundary areas, and you can see them floating a long way off. And you want to make sure you approach them carefully so that you don't spook them. You want to have a light spinning rod with a live shrimp, and you're trying to sight cast at them. And the cast is real critical because you want it to be right on their head or just up current so that they can find it. And they're very user-friendly to catch and a lot of fun and really good to eat. If you're a fly fisherman, this is especially fun. You want to throw a small, bright color fly, hitting them on the head or just up current, and you want to keep it moving real slow. And it's a great way for a new fly angler to cast and catch a couple of these fish. And it's a big help when you're learning how to fly fish and catching other fish that aren't so friendly. It's a good way to get your practice on.
All right, why don't you tell us what's happening offshore in the Florida Keys, Bub?
Okay, offshore Florida Keys right now, you're fishing on the reef, and the yellowtail bite has been just okay off Islamorada this week. There have been a lot of trash fish like the chubs, filefish, blue runners, which can sometimes make it difficult to get to the yellowtails. You can see the yellowtails behind the boat, but they can be very difficult to catch. Most of all the guys that Randy spoke with have had the same complaints. There's always been a couple bull sharks around to make things even tougher. So moving south down toward off the Marathon, Captain Mike Tout on the charter boat Jane Lynn has been having some great yellowtailing in that 60 to 80 feet of water, and he has been getting his limit with very few trash fish in the way. And I think there's a nice photo of Captain Mike with one of his big yellowtails that he's been catching.
Yeah, that's a great fish. All right, what else you got for me offshore, Mark?
You know, the blackfin tuna, that has been a stronghold fishery for us the last few years, and the tuna bite has been very good late in the day. And the late afternoon with the stormy weather has made the tuna bite very good, especially when it's overcast. And the troll bite has been the best, with the fish ranging anywhere from 5 to 25 pounds. And most of the tunas are caught on the rubber eels. They're black or pinker color, and trolling them slow is working really well, and that's your best bet. If you're fishing the feathers like the old school, you want to make sure you're trolling them a little faster. But yet the trick with the eels is to go slow. So a lot of times when you're fighting a fish, you might get another bite from just that worm sitting in the current because the current's always moving out there on the humps. And here's a picture of Captain Randy Town on his boat, Richard Bitchin, out of the Lorelei. And he's been taking advantage of that good bite. And there's a photo of him with Angler Scott with a big tuna he caught on the troll.
All right, thank you so much for filling in for Randy. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the king sailfish hotspot from the Florida Keys. Inshore sharks anchor in 4 to 6 feet of water on the bay side where you have good current, chum with a whole fish or a half a fish on the bottom. And then offshore, blackfin tunas fish the offshore humps. Late in the day, troll black or pink eels 200 feet back at a slow speed.
Mark the Shark did a good job. Yeah. I think so. All right, let's check out some of the tournaments going on in the Florida Keys.
Muffled.
It was a little muffled, that's okay. The Robert James Sales Slam Celebrity Tournament, set for September 9th through the 11th in Key West, is the first of 3 annual Keys fall tournaments that raise funds for the fight against cystic fibrosis. At the Slam, anglers target tarpon, permit, and bonefish to achieve the coveted Flats Grand Slam. The Herman Lucerne Memorial Backcountry Fishing Championship, based in Islamorada, September 16th through the 18th, targets 7 species in Everglades National Park waters. The tournament raises funds for projects to protect Everglades fishery resources. The Marathon International Bonefish Tournament, set for September 22nd through the 25th, recognizes individual and team champions scoring the largest bonefish and permit and top anglers in fly and Grand Slam divisions. At the Take Stock in Children Backcountry Challenge, scheduled for September 23rd through the 25th in Key Largo, anglers can win coveted trophies for catch and release of trout, snook, and redfish. Proceeds support the Take Stock in Children scholarships for financially challenged Upper Keys students. And now, after all those tournaments, I think Andy Newman has more tournaments in the Florida Keys. Let's check it out.
Well, hi guys. Divers can help preserve Florida Keys reefs and earn cash prizes during a fun contest set for Saturday, September 10th in Key Largo. The Reef Environmental Education Foundation is sponsoring the one-day Lionfish Derby based at John Pennekamp Coral Reef State Park. First through third place teams will be rewarded for the most lionfish captured, as well as the largest and smallest caught. There's more details at reef.org, and for more information on all tournaments in the Florida Keys, it's always flakeys.com.
All right, thanks, Andy. In the Yeti Northwest region, you'd be lucky to see a shark, or at least that's what we're telling Rick, so he'll come in the water to get scallops with us next week. Right, Hag?
Sure.
Sure. Okay, tell us about
we
sharks.
got plenty of sharks, but we got all kinds on all sizes: black tips, sharp nose, bulls, hammerheads, makos, tigers. When you're fishing for sharks, you kind of want to pick your tackle depending on the size fish you're fishing for, and that also depends your bait. You're fishing for big hammerhead, big bull shark, usually stingrays, big stingrays we like to use. Just cut them, let them bleed out. The more chum you get in the water, the better off you are. You always want to use a wire leader. The beaches, the passes are a great place to go. Skyway fishing pier is also a good place to fish for them, especially when the tarpon here in the summer months. You can find a lot of tarpon in that area, and if they got tarpon, you're going to have sharks. So the big bull sharks and hammerheads would be in that area when the tarpon are there, and we've still got fish there, so there's still going to be sharks there. Stingrays floated out on the outgoing tides, great bait, great thing to do. Like I said before, chum, 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 and the more chum, more sharks are going to come there. Offshore right now, also in the wrecks, are holding a lot of spinner sharks and black tips and some shark nose. Don't forget an extra large hook out so you can keep your fingers, and try to handle those guys with care so nobody gets an accidental bite. Moving inshore, Captain Jason Lineberger of Ruthless Fishing Charters out of Tampa Bay reports good snook bite right now. Weeden Island and Picnic Island area, live sardines or pinfish have been the best bet on the outgoing moving water. Both incoming and outgoing tides are good, but that outgoing water seems to be the best. Fish right now are averaging anywhere from 24 to 34 inches. Moving on offshore, gag grouper bite coming throughout the entire region. Fish from anywhere from 70 to 150 feet over rock piles and ledges. Pinfish or cut sardines on the standard bottom rig. Start off with dead bait. I mentioned this a lot on my report. You want to start off with that dead bait, and as the bite slows off, fire down those live baits, and you'll end up catching some more fish when that bite slows down. So get them worked up in a frenzy. They start slowing down on that dead bait, drop some live bait down, and you'll continue to have some more fish to catch. Mangrove snapper also seem to be everywhere right now. Again, inside the bay, all the way out to 100 feet of water. I've been getting reports up and down the coast, all over. Mangrove bite's been really good. There's still a late spawn going on. Seems to be rock piles, wedges, any kind of wreck right now. A shrimp or a sardine on a knocker rig. You want to use as small a circle hook as possible. Depending on the size of bait you're using, if you're using a little shrimp, a smaller circle hook, a little bit bigger, 1 inch, 2 inch pinfish, a little bit bigger circle hook, and just enough lead on front of that hook just to get to the bottom. You want to fish right now, the fish are ranging anywhere from 2 to 6 pounds. It's bigger fish. I've seen them been at deeper 70 to 100 feet of water. Smaller fish are relatively inshore.
All right, Hag, I got a question for you. So if I wanted to come to your region and I wanted to catch a monster shark, what size tackle should I bring? What are we going to use for bait? And tell me about the hook size that I need to have.
My big shark rig, I've got a 50 wide, and I've got a 150-pound braid on it, and I've got about 300 yards of that. Now, I fish out of a boat, so if you're fishing up here, you're going to have a 12-aught or a 14-aught old school pen reel or an 80 size that you're going to get a lot of light on because you're fishing from the ground and you're going to have a long run on those big sharks. So if you're fishing from a boat, you can downsize your tackle a little bit. But a heavy rod, unlimited class rod, usually I use a short stand-up rod on my boat and a 50 wide with that, like I said, 150-pound braid. When you get to your swivel, you're going to get to 150-pound, 200-pound swivel, and then a shot of about, I use wind-on leader, so I got 50 foot of 100-pound wind-on leader. And then to that, I've got a piece of wire that's probably 6 to 7 feet long. And depending on the size of shark you're fishing, if you're fishing for a big bull shark, I usually like to use 150 to 200-pound standard piano wire and about a 10-aught to 12-aught circle.
All right, thank you so much for giving me some clarity on that. I'm going to go ahead and take a look at the Florida Outdoor Experience hotspots from the Yeti Northwest region. Inshore, scallops around Gomez rocks in 3 to 6 feet of water. And then offshore, groupers, red groupers, gag groupers in 70-plus feet of water over ledges, rock piles, and live rock. Use pinfish for bait.
We'll see you next week, Hag. Coming to the end of the line on the Chevy Florida Insider Fishing Report, we have a Costa Conservation Minute Tip and then the Central East region to explore, so stay hooked.
The Chevy Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Chevrolet, find new roads. Yamaha, reliability starts here. Suffix, the world's most hardcore fishing line. The IGFA, conservation through education. Get your hands wet. Florida Outdoor Experience. Best parts, best prices. Bennett Auto Supply. And there's no stopping Okuma.
Introducing Helmmaster, Yamaha's first fully integrated digital boat control system. With Helmmaster, you can start your outboards with a swipe of a fob and control them with a single lever. Outboard trim and steering friction adjust automatically as you accelerate and decelerate. Adjust engine speed with the touch of a button. The Helmmaster joystick provides the means to navigate and dock precisely with confidence and ease. Take control of your next vessel with Helmmaster at your command.
Introducing the Yeti Hopper. Leak-proof, ice for days, tough as nails. Built to go the extra mile, and then some.
Remember the glory days of gasoline? It's just not made the same anymore.
Kick your gas into gear with StarTron. Pump up the performance in all of your engines. Cure the problems of ethanol with the power of enzymes. And maximize your mileage every time you drive. Kickstart your engines with StarTron.
Today, we're talking about automotive awards. Which one of these awards appeals most to you?
Top safety pick, mid-size car and SUV.
Most dependable means a lot to me.
The green car, because I like fuel efficiency.
What if there was a car company that received all of these awards?
One company, one award in all these? Chevy.
Chevrolet is the most awarded car company of the last 2 years.
I love it. It's fierce.
How would you sum this car up in one word?
Incredible, amazing. I can't use one word.
Today's Costa Conservation Minute, guys, is about letting the fish go that you're not going to take home to eat. Now, just because the FWC has created limits like 10 dolphin doesn't mean that we need to take 10 dolphin home. To take 10 big legal dolphin home either means you have a really big family or you think you're going to freeze some of those fish or you're going to give it away to your neighbor. To me, it makes a whole lot more sense if you let those 4 other fish go and take only what you need to eat in the next day or 2. Now, some fish, they don't freeze very well. A trout is one of them. A dolphin is another. So there's no need to take an excessive amount of fish and keep freezing them because you're going to really be disappointed when it comes time to cook. So keep in mind that we can be conservationists and grow our fishery and have a lot bigger fish to fish for the next time you go out. That's today's Costa Conservation Minute.
All right, Captain Jim Ross from the Bell's Real Legend Central East region is here to tell us what's biting up there. Are we going to need a bigger boat, Jim?
You know, we might need a bigger one. I'll tell you what, because we've got a lot of sharks out there right now in our near-shore waters and surf zones. Captain Joe Smith the other day was out for 3 hours on a 4-hour trip and had over 25. So there's a bunch of them out there, Bree.
Wow.
The bulls, bonnetheads, and blacktips are also cruising inside the river, in the Indian River, between Sebastian and Melbourne right now. And last Monday, I was out on the flat right there by the Pineda Causeway and saw a 4 to 5 foot blacktip shark cruising that western edge right outside of Mullet Pot in about 2 feet of water. So they can show up just about anywhere where there's some bait fish. Now, most of us are using chunk baits when we're trying to catch this fish, and we're using a sturdy wire rig that's about 2 feet long and then another 5 to 6 feet of Suffolk mono that ranges from 60 to 100 pounds to try and keep the line from chafing on the sides of those fish. Now, most of our sharks are less than 100 pounds right now, but quite a few of the hammerheads and sandbars can push up into that 250-pound range. Now, we've also got tarpon in our inshore waters, and the little baby ones are rolling in the creeks and the residential canals right now between Vero and Cocoa, and they're feeding on glass minnows and pilchards and little baby pokies. Now, you can throw 1 to 2 inch spoons, panfish jigs, or flies at these things wherever you see them rolling. If you don't use those and you want to use some live baits, it can be a little tough because the water right now is about 90 degrees, so you're going to have to try to keep them alive to get those baby tarpon to try and strike them. Now, most of our tarpon right now are running about 1 to 5 pounds. Some of them can get to be about 10 pounds or even a little bit bigger down there in that Sebastian River. And I've got a photo here of Jessica Manuel, and she got a nice little tarpon here in the Indian River near Palm Bay lately.
Nice.
Offshore, juvenile AJs are running all up and down our reefs right now from 80 to about 140 foot. You can also find them on some of the wrecks here in the Bell's Real Legend Central East region. And we're throwing them with, live baits and also chuggers and topwater plugs if you get them chummed up to the surface, because they can be pretty aggressive at times. Now, the guys that are catching the bigger fish are going offshore, and they're using vertical jigs like the Williamson Vortex in that 160 to about 200 foot depths. Now, if you don't want to do any of that stuff, a standard knocker rig or the old standby slide and sinker rig or fish finder rig, as we call it, will get you hooked up with one of those nice big house of pains, as we call them, right there out in that 160 to 250 foot mark. Now, also king mackerel right now, we're expecting the king mackerel to start moving into the beaches any day now. We've had some pretty big ones showing up on our 70 to 90 foot reefs, and we've had fish into the 40-pound class and even one that was almost 60 pounds here recently come into Canaveral. Pogies, blue runners, and sardines are your top live baits. So just remember, as we move into the next couple of weeks, look for them to come to the beaches between Sebastian and Ponce, and especially around the inlets on the tide lines and the shipping channel at Canaveral.
So Jim, I got a question for you. If I were to call you, I'm a prospective client looking for a charter, I always recommend do what the guide says. What would you take me to do this week?
Right now, I'll tell you, Rick, the barracuda, jacks, and bonitas are not your food fish, but they are your most prevalent fish out there right now, and they can be a lot of fun, especially if you get the light spinning rods out and use some live bait and really light tackle on them.
So we could fly fish for those fish as well?
If you've got them really chummed up, you could, but for the most part, you're just going to want to try and get them on those live baits. They're a whole lot easier to hook and land because the live bait itself will get those fish really agitated or fired up and really want to strike.
Wow, Jim, you should have your own radio show.
Exactly. Hey, you know what? So what kind of Rappalas would we throw to them? I know you're real big on the new Rappalas.
Well, I'll tell you that long cast shallow is a great bait. And also, just the smaller buzz, the subwalks and the new twitching mullet is a fantastic one. I've been throwing that one outside right now and getting jacks and blue runners, like 3-pound blue runners on that thing at times.
And what size are you using?
The twitching mullet or the long cast shallow in the size 14 and 12.
Oh, so you're using a little bigger ones than we normally use in Everglades National Park. Thanks for clearing that up for me. I'm going to go ahead and get to the hot spots from the Central East region. Inshore amberjacks on many of the structures in 140 to 180 foot depths. Use live pinfish, sardines on a standard bottom rig, and then offshore big redfish and black drum in the Haulover Canal. Use cut crab on a standard bottom rig.
Well, Michael and I are here to tell you to keep that drag screaming, because even though the sharks have made their mark, we still have to tell you what to look for in your waters next week, only on the Chevy Florida
Insider Fishing Report.
There you go, Rick.
Welcome.
Bye.
Today we're going to be comparing the roll-formed high-strength steel bed of the Chevy Silverado to the aluminum bed of this competitor's truck. We're going to grab that empty toolbox for me. Let's start here with the aluminum bed.
That's a big hole. Huge. We got Swiss cheese for a truck here. I'm curious to see if that will do the same thing with the Chevy.
Well, let's find out. Same spot, same angle, same empty toolbox.
Took it way better. The steel held up.
Silverado proved it is the toughest truck here.
When you're moving a big offshore boat, it's all about thrust and trust. For thrust, nothing compares to the Yamaha purpose-built 5.3-liter V8 Power Pioneer. And for trust, Yamaha's new F350C model becomes the only outboard in its horsepower class to feature a 5-year limited warranty. Never settle for less than complete confidence and control in the open water. That's Yamaha V8 Power. Get the best and forget the rest.
Uncompromising. Like the fishermen who swear by it.
Thanks for tuning in to the Chevy Florida Insider Fishing Report. Be sure to like us on Facebook and follow us on Instagram and Twitter to keep up with our captains, contests, and appearances. You never have to miss a show. You can find full episodes of the Chevy Florida Insider Fishing Report right on your YouTube channel. And make sure to check out our website for fishing reports in your region. Visit www.ChevyFloridaInsiderFishingReport.com for everything you need to know to stay hooked up. Next week, guys, we are talking permit. Permitos. I'm so excited. My permit got eaten by a shark.
Imagine that.
Imagine that. Getting sharked all the time. Must have been wearing this color.
You know what? When we pull up to that wreck, it's a mess. But we got some CCA stuff we need to talk about.
We've been telling you all about the CCA Homestead Banquet and Auction on September 22nd, and it worked because the event is officially sold out.
That's awesome.
That is awesome. So if y'all are going, we will see you there.
Way to go,
and
Homestead
if you need
chapter.
More,
I like it.
I like it.
You coming?
I'm coming. I'll be there. He'll be there.
Hey, don't
Thanks
forget
for joining us, guys. What?
Right,
what do you want to say?
Don't forget to watch Sportsman's Adventures.
Oh, okay.
Bye.